Oh boy, they've been and gone and done it. Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia and welcome back to some Overwatch League news. It's not a roundup, because when I touched on this story in the roundup, there wasn't enough to base off to make it a video. There is now. Okay. So let's start the story off from the beginning, shall we? There is a bit of news coming from the Seoul Dynasty, and that is the fact that Fissure has now retired. He's not just left the team, he is retired from the Overwatch League. You will no longer see Fissure. So I'm not too surprised about this. Fissure has never seemed to fit in. I think it's a similar issue to XQC. He's just not an Overwatch League player. It's not the way that suits him. He might go down a streaming career now, and I think that's the best for him. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and it hasn't worked for him. It didn't work for him at London because he wasn't the number one main man. He was the number one main man at the LA Gladiators, but then said he didn't want to learn English, and so wanted to be on a Korean-speaking roster, and now it hasn't worked for him at Seoul either. So Fissure has left the Overwatch League, but he's parted the Overwatch League with a gift of a leak. So basically, and in true Fissure style, again, you can draw similarities with XQC here. He's been on stream and he said, hey, guys, sod it. I'm going to leak this. 222 roll lock is coming for Stage 4 of the Overwatch League 2019. And there is no reason for us to ignore this. This is not Fissure being spiteful. He was wearing a Gen G shirt at the time, so there's no reason for us to doubt Fissure. Gen G own Dynasty, if you didn't know. So, oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Now, I said this might not be the best idea when I was touching on this in the roundup earlier this week. Oh boy. Time to discuss. Okay. So, 222 roll lock, well, that's the end of Goats. Bye-bye. It's also the end of Brigitte, because Brigitte will not be played in a 2 support comp by pros. They have said this time and time again. Her healing output is not strong enough to be run as just a support. She has to be buffed by 2 other supports. So that's never going to happen. So you are not going to see Brigitte whatsoever in Stage 4. Unless the pros have devised something, but I doubt that. You are most likely going to see Zen Lucio or Ana Lucio. Actually, you might also see Ana Zen. That's probably the 3 healers you're going to see, although there will be a rejuvenation of Mercy, because Mercy works well with DPS, especially Widow, and especially McCree. And if there's one hero I would bet on being in the meta in a 222 roll lock, it would be McCree. I don't know whether anyone's seen McCree on live right now. That's probably the McCree that's going to be in Stage 4. Is there any reason not to play McCree? So, this will have an adverse effect on Reinhardt. We will see a massive drop in Reinhardt play, and I would imagine we will see a massive drop in Zarya play along with that, because basically they were the backbone of Goats. You don't play a Zarya normally without a Rein. We might see it on King's Row, but that's about it, and I don't even know whether King's Row is going to be in the Stage 4 map pool, so who knows with that one. Tank-wise, we could see a move back to Diva Winston, which I don't think anyone's against, really. We should see more Widow. But I've been thinking for a while, the past couple of weeks, that this is coming. And the reason for that is the fact that you look at the league right now, and there's a meta shift. Yes, there's been more Sombra Goats, but there's also been a meta shift towards more DPS. And I think a few of the teams, especially London, because it came right out of the blue from London, are now saying, look, we need to get our DPS in shape, because Stage 4, when it gets real critical, we're going to need it. Now, there's a problem with this. Now, a lot of people say that the meta shift at the end of last season caused Excelsior to lose. I don't agree with that whatsoever. The meta didn't shift enough for Excelsior not to be competent in the meta at the end of last season. You look at the meta that was in the finals between Philadelphia and London, it was DPS based. So I really don't know where people are coming from that. NYXL choked. Let's be honest about this. NYXL choked last year, and they are a team that are known to choke at times. I don't think they would have done this year, but we got the curveball that was GOATS this year. And of course, two teams have come out on top of that. That is the Vancouver Titans and the San Francisco Shock. Now, many people are saying, well, NYXL are up there now. Well, yeah, they're only up there because they're playing Sabi on Sombra. They're playing Sombra Goats at the moment. That's why they're so good right now. Have you actually taken a look at how much the NYXL are playing full Goats? They're not. They're playing Sombra Goats. They're not playing a Diva. So, you can't count that. And we know NYXL are good on DPS. So, NYXL will benefit from this. The big benefits I would expect to see would be last year's finalists. I would expect to see London and Philadelphia benefit from this massively. And Philadelphia, it will be just at the right time for them. They really need to pick up wins. I've seen a few people that say it might benefit Hangzhou Spark. I don't know. I think Hangzhou have sparked. You could say that. They've become one with the GOATS meta. They can play it quite competently. We've seen that at this stage. So, I don't know. I don't think Spark really mind what the meta is. But the big question is the Vancouver Titans and San Francisco Shock. Now, I think it will affect the Vancouver Titans more than it will the Shock. The reason for this is I think the Shock are much more versatile than the Vancouver Titans. A lot of people will say, obviously, that we've seen Haxel's Genji and stuff like that. Stitch is yet to play, so is... Well, we've seen Stitch, but not much. And also Hureg, who was part of the London Spitfire last season on the Vancouver roster. So we're yet to see Vancouver's full strength of DPS, but when they've been forced onto Sombra Goats, they've not looked good. Somin Su has been outclassed on Sombra at every turn. So Vancouver could lose heavily from this. In terms of the Shock, it's less clear with the Shock, because the Shock have got a lot of good players, and I think they're good in pretty much every meta. Are they as good in a DPS meta as they are as in GOATS? I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because Sinatra is a god-tier Zarya. He really is. There is no one better than Sinatra on Zarya. Can he live up to that with his DPS picks? He'll be a very good DPS, don't get me wrong. But will he be as good as he is on Zarya? I don't know. But there are some back pocket picks that San Francisco have got. Remember, they've got the likes of Striker. Striker was a god tier Tracer last season for the Boston Uprising. So, if we see an upturn in Tracer play, which we could see with the negation of Brigitte, then it's possible we see Striker make a return. That all kind of depends on how influential McCree is, because I think if McCree gets played a heck of a lot, which I think we expect him to be in a 2-2 meta with the current McCree that's on live, I don't think you'll see Tracer, because she's shut down way too easily by a good McCree. And in terms of players, you might see, yes, Big Boy Pine. We all remember his McCree for Milios last season, and if McCree is meta, God knows what Pine can do. I would expect Pine, we haven't seen Pine all season for the NYXL, so it would be nice to see the big boy himself. So we could see Pine make a return. We could also see Flower, more Flower from the NYXL as well. All these teams, it's gonna really shake things up. We've seen Happy's Widow at times from the Guangzhou Charge. He looked really good, but he doesn't get to play a lot of it. And then when I go back to the Fusion, you've got Carpe's Widow. Or Carpe's McCree. Oh dear lord. His best heroes. He has not looked good on Zarya, but if he goes back to Widow McCree, all of a sudden the carry for the Fusion is back. And then we've got unknown entities. We don't know what Washington or Florida can do in a DPS based meta. Houston should benefit from this because Linksa will be, he's a god tier Widow already, but he'll be a very good McCree as well if we see a McCree meta. There's so much up in the air right now. The problem is, I do feel sorry for the likes of Shock and Vancouver. because this could really mess with their season. The advantage Vancouver have got is, providing they can finish this stage strongly, they have such a lead where they shouldn't lose it. Even if the meta goes drastically wrong for them and they, say, have a 3 and 4 stage next stage, which I don't think they will in a DPS meta, even if they were to have that, they'd still finish top of the league, in my opinion. Now, Shock, I just don't think the Shock will tank. And I mean that not as in the position, but I don't think they'll drop heavily because of a DPS meta. I don't think that's in the Shock. I think Shock are well equipped to survive whatever meta's thrown at them. And that's more than I can say for other teams. It makes for a lot of uncertainty though. And my biggest problem is, I don't agree with this being changed so close towards the end of the season. And that's coming from a fan of the London Spitfire who wants to see GOATs gone. I want to see GOATs gone because it doesn't benefit the Spitfire whatsoever. But I think it's unfair to change it this close to at the end of the season. Because it doesn't work the same way as a normal league does, right? From my point of view, because I'm an EUer, I'm a UKer. A league is a league. The number one wins it all. But that's not the way it works in America. That's not the way it works in the Overwatch League. Yeah, you get number one seed, you get a bye. But the winners of it are actually the people who win the playoffs. And as we saw last season, doesn't always mean that the number one seed that's dominated all season is going to win it. Because actually, London were what? 5th seed. So you could end up seeing a season similar to last season where an outsider wins it because the meta's changed. Or I don't think Vancouver would choke like that. Like Excelsior did quite spectacularly last season. But it's not fair, in my opinion, on the teams that have been dominant for so long to suddenly say, ha ha, we don't like the comp that's made you dominant, so we're not going to make you dominant anymore. And I might be entirely wrong here. They might adapt very well with good warning, and if Fissure knows that it's going to be a 2-2 roll lock, all the teams have had warning about this. Hence why I think that's why there's a slight meta shift right now. So, providing the teams have had warning, which they have, there's already plans in place for them to change. What worries me is, why not change now? It seems to me that the likes of Vancouver are trying to make the most of GOATs while they've got it. And that is not a good route to go down. You've got to prepare for the next meta, or as some teams found out last season, like the Houston Outlaws, when the Junkrat meta went and disappeared, you fall flat on your face. Big time. So, it remains to be seen what this will do. There is no confirmation whether this is coming to competitive Overwatch ladder. I would assume it would at some point, providing it's a success. Also, we're not going to see this in contenders either, apparently. So, it makes for a bigger disconnect, which is worrying. This means that the Overwatch League will be disconnected from the Overwatch contenders, which will be disconnected from ladder Overwatch. We might also see teams experiment with Bunker again at the start of next stage if we get 2-2, because Bunker is the meta on ladder, and that could work if you don't have GOATs. It remains to be seen. It remains to be seen what the pros come up with, but this is the biggest change to how the Overwatch League is played ever. Providing it is what it is, but I don't have any reason to doubt it now. There is videoed proof of Fissure on his Overwatch on his stream saying in Korean that there's going to be a 2-2 roll lock. I might as well leak it. So we have no reason to question this now. Miro also said it and then quickly retracted it, and Miro is still signed, so there is no reason to doubt that there will be a 2-2 roll lock in stage 4. What bugs me is this: if you're going to do it, should have come in at stage 3 to give time for the league to develop. You are doing it too late. 7 games away from the end of the season. That is what it is, because there's 7 games in the stage. 7 games away from the end of the season, you are going to change how basically how Overwatch is played in the league. That's basically what you're doing. Because nothing will apply anymore. Interesting move. Would Nate Nanza have done this, I wonder? Now there's a question for you. But I'm going to leave it here. Stage 4 is shaping up to be an absolute stonker. It really is. And it could all change. Just like that, it could all change. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.